Welcome to Markets Today. I'm your host, Mbithe Mwema. It's a very exciting day for us here at Markets Today because we are eagerly awaiting the budget reading, which is expected to happen tomorrow in Parliament. The Cabinet Secretary for Treasury, His Excellency Honorable Ambassador Okorie Tani, will be presenting the budget for the 2020-2021 fiscal year. What are we looking out for? How will this compare to the budget for the current year that is ending? And more importantly, what revenue sources will be derived from the economic activity that has actually come to a lower level compared to prior years? What are the expectations and what do we need to look out for ahead of the reading? That's a conversation that we are having today, and we are joined on camera and from a very long way away from Nairobi by Mr. Cyrus Ondari. Cyrus Ondari is part of the county government of Kakamega. He is an economist with this government, and he's also working as a management and strategic consultant domiciled in Kakamega. Thank you, Cyrus, for making the time, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
We can start off by just looking at the fiscal operations of the current government. What are your views in as far as the current year is concerned?
I want to believe that the government, faced with so many challenges, has been able to make a number of alterations in order to achieve a number of things which are out to be done by the government. You realize that the government is operating a budget which had to be under a supplementary budget to reduce it, given that initially it was a budget of 3.2 trillion, yet the revenue measures would not be able to sustain that. As a result of that, the supplementary budget had to be addressed in order to reduce it to 3.02 trillion. But looking at the current financial year, the government is faced with a pandemic which it did not plan for. Looking at the coronavirus that initially started from China, arriving here in February, March, with our first case reported by the Minister for Health in 15th of March, the government definitely had to make a number of changes in order to address the current conditions. In order to address the challenges the government is facing, there are a number of fiscal changes that the government has to make. You realize that the government had to reduce and completely eliminate from its current recurrent expenditure all domestic and travel expenses in order to change and move those resources in order to fight the pandemic. In addition to that, the medical doctors who are frontline fighters for this pandemic had also to come in, some of them who are not budgeted for. So in order to address it, and which is a priority for the government, you realize that the government had to hire some of them on a contract basis, at the same time motivate them by increasing their remuneration through regular maybe interventions. And also some of the consumables for the Ministry of Health had to be purchased, which initially were not in the current expenditure for the Ministry of Health. For example, when you look at the PPEs, you look at the masks that were initially purchased from China, the government had to make some adjustments in order to cater for those expenses. But we also realized that the country had to, because of the expenditure which was not anticipated for, and seeking for this funding from even donors and development partners, the government had to come in with creative ways and innovative ways of addressing that. That's why you realize that the Kikotech in Kitui had to come in at the very initial stages to address the issues of PPEs, so that the government can reduce costs of acquisition of such maybe requirements.
Okay, thank you for that overview. But you've talked us through the expenditure side and the amendment that came in through the supplementary budget. So the current year was looking at an expenditure level of 3.02 trillion. Could you kindly walk us through what the revenue side looked like for the year that is ending in 2019-2021, please?
Yeah, for the year that is ending 2019-2020, the government initially anticipated to have a revenue base of 1.7 trillion from the Kenya Revenue Authority, which was ideally supposed to support the budget as usually it is. But you realize that the ordinary revenue is composed mainly of our tax revenue, which is about 93% of the ordinary revenue. The revenue that we get from the property and other revenues normally constitute a very small proportion of the revenue that the government has. Mainly, our revenue comes from the income tax, mainly from pay as you earn from the employed personnel. At the same time, from corporation tax, which is earned from corporations or companies. At the same time, our major revenue earner for the government comes from VAT, mainly from the direct revenue and also indirect as a result of maybe revenue from outsourced from the maybe the components which are the value added tax. Then you realize that about 30% of the revenue comes from pay as you earn and corporation tax. Then VAT comes in with almost another 35 or so 40%. Then these other revenues constitute a very smaller proportion. For example, when you look at the property income, which is as a result of capital gains tax, and other revenues from the real estate, they don't form a significant component for the government. In addition to that, the revenue that is generated from court fines and other related maybe sources for the government, still they are quite a small proportion. So in order for the government to raise the financing for the budget, then the government is faced with the challenge of maybe bridging that, which definitely has to come in from maybe domestic as well as maybe external borrowing. So for the current, sorry.
Saying, okay, so we are at the space where there's a current deficit that has gone through for the year that ends in 2020. Maybe you can quickly walk us through how the government funded its operations. Then now we can come into looking at the year that we'll be looking out for as of tomorrow.
Okay, you realize that the current revenue for the government, looking at it from the year 2015-16, we've been having a revenue base that's the ordinary, maybe when you look at the tax revenue, we've been having a tax revenue of 1.1 trillion in 2015-16, 1.3 trillion in 16-17, 1.41 trillion in 17-18. Then we have 1.55 in 18-19 and 1.64 in 19-20. Then you realize that as much as maybe the tax revenue is a significant component, the other revenues that comes in are not sufficient in order to address the ordinary government financing requirement. So in order for the government to fund the budget of 3.02, then the difference is from either grants or debt that the government has to seek in order to support the recurrent as well as maybe the development funding. Although it's a policy of the government to ensure that the funding, especially public debt, goes mainly to long-term investment, which can benefit the country for a longer period of time. At the same time, this funding has to be directly used in long-term projects which have an impact on maybe even the generations to come. So for the period that we are in, looking at the central bank data, you realize that our public debt in the year 2019, we were at 5.3 trillion by end of June 2019. But as per February this year, we have a domestic debt of 3.01 trillion, as well as a 3.2 trillion, meaning that we have a total debt of 6.2 as per that. So that means that for the government to fund the operations, it is an aggregate of both the domestic resources that is able to raise, the grants that's able to get from partners, as well as maybe some of the domestic CSRs from some of the corporations, as well as now the debt that the government has to seek in order to support the activities. Because at the end of the day, the government has to provide services, it has to provide public goods which are essential, and by their very nature, they cannot be produced by individuals. For example, when you talk of like a community and a road, yet the community, as much as maybe the community will be using that road, but you cannot have an individual that, from that community going out of his own way to construct the road so that the whole community can benefit at no cost. There is no individual who can go out and construct an hospital and allow everybody to consume the services at no cost. That's why the government has to come in to provide these services in order to address some of the issues that by their very nature can only be provided by the government itself.
Thank you so much, Cyrus, for that overview. So what you're telling us is last year, the budget was amended to 3.02. That was the expenditure level. Then the revenue was 1.6. And I also like that you've told us at the beginning of the last fiscal year, the total debt was I think you said 5.3 trillion, and that has moved to 6.3 trillion. I think there's an addition of about a trillion or 900 billion for just 1 year. Maybe you can walk us through what then the revenue and expenditure levels are, or what you expect to hear from Cabinet Secretary Ambassador Okur Yatani tomorrow in terms of his revenue lines and his expenses, and then maybe later on then we can delve into the whole question of debt and its sustainability.
Okay, the National Treasury plans to have a budget which, according to the budget policy statement, is estimated to be about 2.7 trillion. Of the 2.7 trillion budget, 1.8 trillion is supposed to support the recurrent expenditure, while about 584 billion is supposed to support development funding. You realize that the government has also rolled out 57 billion economic stimulus in order to resuscitate or give some maybe wings to the social as well as the vulnerable sectors in order to support the economy. At the same time, the National Treasury is intending to, has already sought a moratorium in order not to pay the debt between June up to December. So that means that about 530 billion that we normally use on servicing of debt is likely to come down. But you realize that according to the National Treasury, CS, that is not going to go forever. It's going to be for a period of about half a year. So what happens after that? It means that the government has to meet its needs as far as maybe the repayment of debt is concerned. If it fails to do that, you know the consequences that comes with it, because the government can be blacklisted, a situation that we call a debt overhang, whereby the government is not able now to borrow from any other international bodies. So for the government to sustain this, there are some key sectors which must be addressed, because the economy must continue running as far as maybe we face a number of challenges. But all that we know is that the Kenyan economy has always gone through different shocks, but it has been resilient in most areas and it has been able to overcome some of these challenges. And as the Treasury CS plans to read the budget tomorrow, you realize that the government faces a number of challenges which were completely unanticipated for. For example, when you talk of the coronavirus, it came in just as an epidemic which was thought to last a short while, but you realize it has turned out to be a pandemic. So the government must come up with strategies to ensure that the long-term effects of this virus or of this disease does not affect or does not shut the economy, because the population looks forward for the government to continue providing the goods, the public goods that it currently provides, as well as providing the services that it must provide unto it. So the National Treasury must continue with the austerity measures, which are going to look at some of the key areas that the government must address, and in terms of priority, some of the areas which may not necessarily be included in the budget, so that the resources allocated to these areas can be moved to address the priority areas. For example, you realize right now the Ministry of Health, as per the CS, it is supposed to receive an average of 111 billion in the budget, where the Ministry of Transport about 117 trillion. When you look at the Teacher Service Commission, which has quite numbers for our teachers, it's anticipated that the Treasury can allocate to it about 266 billion, while in infrastructure, which is the core for our economy, supposed to be allocated about 181.5 billion. The Minister of Interior, you realize that it has been very instrumental in addressing almost some of the key issues that affect the government as well as the population. Even right now, as much as we say that the health personnel are at the front liners, but you know who are in charge of enforcing the curfew, who are in charge of ensuring that people who are infected are arrested and contained in the quarantine centers, who are in charge of ensuring that people who are escaping from the quarantine centers are either arrested and returned to those centers so that they cannot continue infecting the section of the population which is not infected. So the Ministry of Interior has been allocated about 131.6 billion, where the National Treasury has about 117 billion. The Ministry of Defense, given its mandate, about 115 billion, while the Ministry of Energy has an upsurge of 10 billion from 62 to 72.4 billion. So all these are looking into addressing the key sectors of the economy in order to ensure that the economic engine continues running and supporting the services of the economy, as well as producing the services, the goods that it must provide. At the same time, you realize that our economy is so resilient in the service sector, in that even as we speak right now, the biggest gains that have gone out of the innovations of this pandemic have generally gone into the services sector. That's why you realize there is a lot of innovation in terms of creation of apps to link up people from one point to another, as well as sustain the work from home program so that the economy can continue running. So I believe that once the Treasury addresses some of these areas, as well as some of the maybe future incoming issues, then the economy will be able to remain on an upward trend of maybe projected growth of above 5.3, which is the current 2019-2020 growth.
Okay, thank you for that elaborate breakdown of the expenditure, which is really the government's wish list to be able to expand its services to the population next year. Please walk us through what the government is expecting in terms of revenue and whether these targets are reasonable or even fair from where you stand.
Thank you very much, Mbite. When we look at the revenue base, we are looking at a current ordinary revenue of 1.9 trillion, and yet we are talking of a budget of 2.7 trillion. This is for the 2019-2020, the 1.9 trillion, we may not realize it maybe in the year 2020-2021 budget year. And these are the reasons why we may not be able to realize that. Looking at the fiscal adjustments that the government had to make, for example, you know that the government was able to change the VAT from 16% to 14%. And as we saw earlier, VAT is the biggest engine as far as economic revenue generation for the government is concerned. So the 2% reduction weighs so much as far as maybe the revenue generation is concerned, both for the direct taxes as well as maybe the indirect taxes. Although the government did not adjust other areas of tax like excise duty and maybe the import duties, but the VAT adjustment itself from 16 to 14 will reduce the revenue for the government. At the same time, the income tax adjustment from 30% to 25% for both the pay as you earn and also the corporation tax from 30% to 25% is likely to have a significant impact as far as the revenue for the government is concerned. What this means is that as we go along, the Treasury has projected that this is likely to cause a revenue reduction of about 172 billion that was likely to go into supporting the budget. So the only thing that we rely on in order to raise the revenue maybe up to slightly above 2 trillion is the resilience of the economy in order to manage the aftermath of the post-COVID season, so that as the economy starts to run at a slower pace and the innovations which can enable some sectors to move faster, for example, the services sector, will enable the government to increase that. Maybe the efforts to tax the online businesses as well as the online economic activities is likely to increase some of the part of the revenue that the government can target, but also must be of cognizance that the pace at which the online revenue can be taxed may not move faster to reach the revenue that the government has lost. You also know that a number of jobs have been lost in during this period. These jobs which have been lost, we also know that there was tax which ought to have been obtained from these jobs, as well as maybe some of the multiplier effect from these jobs. For example, sometimes when one person is employed in a family, there are so many other people who depend on him. So there are so many livelihoods that depend on this one single person. So once this person has been laid off, then the duplicate or the number of people relying on him for their day-to-day activities, the domestic workers, the people who are doing cleaning, the people who are able to be receiving some stipend from this person, all these people means that their income has been cut short. And also the revenue government that comes from these individuals definitely is reduced. So the innovation that the government is likely to come up with is necessary in order to ensure that the revenue is raised. For example, the government has come up with a CASMI, whereby the
Cyrus,
youths are employed.
allow me to interject briefly. I like how you're bringing out the fact that people have lost jobs and the sources of revenue could be affected in terms of what the government can raise. Perhaps you can briefly walk me through this. So we are in a space where the government is going and looking for debt relief or debt moratorium and speaking to some of its funding partners. And World Bank has been insistent in saying that there's the need for the removal of some of the subsidies that have been extended to different sectors of the economy, or a need to actually review the tax relief that was actually extended during COVID. Do you see a scenario where the lower corporate and income tax, which is pay as you earn, moves from 25% back to 30%?
I did get your question.
Okay.
Please.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can get you.
Okay. So my question is, we have a lower tax band for pay as you earn and corporate tax. Is there any chance that this could be revised upwards for the upcoming fiscal year?
Yeah, I want to believe that the government at some point might revise it upwards, because the government did not stop providing the services that it has been providing. The number of police officers have not reduced. In any case, they are likely to increase. The number of teachers will be increasing by another 10,000. There's no salary cuts for the teachers, neither for any other public servants, apart from those who willingly accepted a 10, 20, 30, or 50% salary reduction. So the same
So it's more of a temporal thing, so it's something to be cognizant of.
Sorry?
Sorry, I think I lost you there. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I'm getting you.
Okay. We're a bit pressed for time. Allow me to just get to our next question, then maybe we can start to round off this conversation. Maybe you can briefly walk us through debt. You have mentioned earlier in the conversation that there will be a debt moratorium for 6 months. How much debt do you think the government will raise in this in tomorrow's budget reading, and what should investors be looking out for in terms of maybe investing in fixed income?
Yeah, if you go by the projection of the figures from last year, as I said earlier, by June last year, the government had a debt level of 5.3 trillion. So by February this year, we are talking about 3.1 domestic debt, as well as 3.12 external debt, giving us a rough figure of about 6.2 trillion. So on average, it means for the government to fund the activities that it's undertaking, it raises close to 1 trillion in debt every year. But this has been happening in an environment whereby the economy was running at full strength. Most sectors were operating optimally. For example, when you look at the manufacturing, the agriculture sector, apart from the rain season that affected last year, but generally the agriculture sector operated well. The service sector has been running well, which is the case even up to now, apart from a few other areas. So this 1 trillion, which has been raised every year, it is been able to support some of the deficits that the government has been having. So given that there is a tax cut in this year, which we don't know how long it will go to, there are chances that the government is likely to raise a similar debt level in the coming year of about 1 to 1.2 trillion Kenya shillings.
What does this, from where you stand, what does this mean for interest rates then in the local market in terms of government borrowing T-bills and T-bonds? What does that mean? What's your outlook in that perspective?
In terms of the effect of this debt on the local interest rate, generally the borrowing by the government is more preferred than borrowing to the individuals, simply because the government has a certainty of repayment and the risk premium for the government is normally very low. So right now, from the time the interest capping was eliminated, the interest rates, average interest rate reduced from 13.1 to 12.24%. But if the government will continue borrowing locally, then the interest rates are likely to increase, simply because the banks will be more willing to lend to the government than they will be willing to lend to the individuals. At the same time, you realize the economy is not doing very well. So generally, the economy of the individuals will not be as stable as that of the government. So the interest rates might go up simply because the financial sector will be reducing the lending to the individuals as far as maybe lending to the government.
Thank you so much for that, Cyrus. I think there's a lot more that we must be able to discuss, and I hope we can maybe be able to get time again with you next week after the reading, just to go through what were the expectations and what was read and how does this now reflect in the day-to-day operations of Kenyans. But before we come to the end, perhaps you can give me closing remarks on what are you looking out for? Do you think it's balanced, and what your views are as we come to the close of our session today?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to maybe better prospects as far as maybe the economy is concerned. But I believe some of the things might be beyond our control. But it's our hope that the major sectors of the economy will be resilient during this period, so that they can move through the pandemic and sustain their prospects in the near future. Thank you.
Will be any surprises tomorrow?
Not so much, because some of the issues have already been seen even beforehand.
Before I leave you, because you're sitting in Kakamega, do you think the county allocation budget line is appropriate for counties and devolution, or do you get a sense where we could start seeing counties demanding for more?
Generally, resources for the counties will never be enough, just as resources for the country. But the 373 billion that is normally allocated to the counties, the increase is likely to be marginal, given that the economic prospects are not so much good as far as maybe the country is concerned. But you're likely to see a pressure from the counties to have the national government increase the resources it is to them.
All right. Thank you so much, Cyrus. That's all the time we had today. We hope to have a follow-on conversation with you soon. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a precursor of what we expect to see tomorrow as the Cabinet Secretary, Okur Yotani, reads the budget for the 2020-2021 year. Some of the key numbers we're looking out for is 2.7 trillion in terms of the expenditure, which is coming off from last year's expenditure level of 3.5 trillion. And the revenue outlook is 1.64 trillion. How will this budget be balanced, and what does this mean for any taxes that will possibly come your way? That's a conversation that we will be looking out for. Cyrus was joining us on video from Kakamega. He is an economist working with the county government of Kakamega. We hope to have him again on our show. That's all we have for you today. See you tomorrow as we discuss the budget in detail and cover the CS's announcements tomorrow. Join us then on Metropole TV from 2. Thank you and good day.